Diddy was running some kind of Epstein type deal where he was filming everybody. Genuinely love it when someone like Diddy gets caught, though. I mean, he had a lot of people at those parties, right?
Is that going to be a new thing? Are you going to try to be early?
Yes, I'm trying to be early.
Are you going to be early for my party?
Yes, I am. No.
No.
You know I have to arrive fashionably late.
All right. Not too late, though.
Not too late?
Not too late, please.
What time would you like me there?
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But not too late. Because, you know, once you get there, the party really starts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I got you. I promise you I'm not going to let you down on this big one.
All right,
For
good.
real.
Good.
Your shoes, your feet are going to have blisters. You're going to be dancing so hard.
I can't wait.
Joe Rogan just dropped something that got everybody talking. He's calling out the massive silence around Ellen DeGeneres. And honestly, it's about time somebody said it. With the whole Diddy situation blowing up everywhere and dominating every timeline, people keep asking the exact same question.
P. Diddy definitely f***ed everybody and did this and f***ed everyone. And then we're like, well, how do you know? He's like, I read. Not really, it doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah. Well, it's just a funny thing to say because you could also be like admitting the ridiculousness of it yourself while saying, I read. You know, because it's kind of an admission, like, I'm not there.
How is nobody connecting these dots that keep showing up over and over? Ellen's name keeps appearing in this whole discussion, but tons of people are acting like they can't see what's right in front of them. Once Diddy was sentenced and the prison reality actually set in, the internet did what it always does. They started digging through everything. Old clips surfaced, old interviews got rewatched, old moments that people laughed at years ago suddenly hit completely different when you look at them through a new lens. And that's exactly where Ellen enters the picture.
Ellen, were you surprised by the allegations about P. Diddy? Did that surprise you about P. Diddy?
Did you see what Ellen did? This is really, really kind of funny. She said, being stuck here in quarantine is like being in prison. I haven't changed my clothes in days and everyone's gay. It's funny.
That's funny.
It's funny. And she got attacked. Do you think this is prison? My grandmother died. You're living in a mansion. That kind of. But I think it's probably partly because that guy came out and said, hey, Ellen is mean. Post your stories about Ellen being mean.
Do you see the stories?
They're bad
They were
stories.
nothing too bad, man.
People started pulling up all these clips of Ellen and Diddy on her show looking way too comfortable together, laughing, joking around, getting into all that party talk like it was just harmless entertainment. But now, with the way this entire conversation has shifted, those same jokes are getting replayed and analyzed like they actually meant something way deeper. Now hold up, because you need to hear what Joe Rogan actually said about this whole situation. In his view, there's a specific reason people aren't going after Ellen, the same way they're going after other celebrities. Even though she had Diddy on her show multiple times, and that party talk wasn't just some quick passing comment. It was all on camera, it was super casual, and now viewers are reinterpreting it as part of a much bigger picture and a much darker story.
So tell me about your birthday party. Am I invited?
Yes. Yes, you're definitely invited. I invite you to all my parties. You just haven't seemed to show up.
No, well, is it on the East Coast?
Yes.
Well, that's why. Why don't you have one here on the West Coast? Because I work all the time.
Okay, well, maybe I have one at your house.
Where's that?
Think about it for a second. The silence around all this is incredibly loud, and it brings up one major question. Is this just really awkward timing, or is this one of those topics that literally nobody in Hollywood wants to touch because they're scared of what might come out? And here's where things get even more strange and suspicious. Remember when Ellen's show finally ended after that whole toxic workplace scandal blew up? That wasn't just some quick news cycle that disappeared. It completely reshaped how the public saw her and changed her entire image.
As you may have heard, this summer there were allegations of a toxic work environment at our show. And then there was an investigation. I learned that things happened here that never should have happened. I take that very seriously, and I want to say I am so sorry to the people who were affected. I know that I'm in a position of privilege and power, and I realize that with that comes responsibility, and I take responsibility for what happens at my show.
Later on, she and Portia packed up and moved to the UK, with Ellen publicly saying that decision was tied to the political climate in America. But here's the thing. A lot of people watching didn't treat that move like it was just a simple lifestyle change or retirement plan. They treated the timing like it was a signal, like she was running from something. Fair or not, that's exactly how the audience is reading the situation right now. Coincidence? Maybe. But the audience doesn't do maybe, and that's precisely why people keep pulling up old receipts and asking what really went down behind those closed doors. Before getting deeper into what Joe Rogan specifically said, here's the quick breakdown of why Ellen even matters in this conversation and why her name keeps coming up. Back when BuzzFeed News dropped that massive report about her show, it completely destroyed her Be Kind public image basically overnight. Former staff members came forward describing an environment filled with intimidation, racism allegations, toxic management practices, and people feeling like they couldn't speak up about problems without facing serious consequences. The part that really stuck with the public was that brutal contrast. Her entire brand was built on kindness and positivity, but the actual story coming out sounded like constant pressure and fear. The backlash got so incredibly heavy that several executive producers got removed from their positions, and Ellen had to address everything publicly on air. But the debate never actually stopped even after that.
And I've said it before, but I'll say it again. If I've done anything in the past 19 years, I hope I've inspired you to be yourself, your true, authentic self. And if someone is brave enough to tell you who they are, be brave enough to support them, even if you don't understand. They're showing you who they are, and that is the biggest gift anybody can ever give you. And by opening your heart and your mind, you're going to be that much more compassionate. And compassion is what makes the world a better place.
People kept arguing about whether it was just those producers creating the toxic environment or if it was the culture of the entire show, top to bottom. Ellen's defense was basically that she didn't know everything that was happening behind the scenes in her own workplace. And that's where the split happened with the public. Some people accepted her explanation and moved on. Others absolutely didn't buy it. Either way, her reputation took a massive hit that she never fully recovered from. You probably heard this already, but that summer there were all these allegations about a toxic work environment at the show, and then an official investigation got launched. Ellen said she learned that things happened there that never should have happened, and she took it very seriously and apologized to everyone who was affected. The show kept going for a little while longer, then ended with Ellen claiming it just wasn't challenging for her anymore, and she was ready to move on. But tons of people read that situation completely differently, like the trust was already gone between her and the audience, and it was never coming back no matter what she said. Now let's get into what Joe Rogan actually said about Ellen in this whole Diddy discussion on his podcast. Rogan talked about how incredibly strange it is that for years, so many celebrities were openly joking about Diddy's parties, like it was something to brag about. He brought up names like Ashton Kutcher and other celebrities who used to talk about those parties like attending them was some kind of badge of honor or exclusive achievement. And then he pointed out something really obvious that everyone's been thinking. One of the biggest platforms where those party conversations played out on camera was Ellen's show.
So tell me about your birthday party. Am I invited?
Yes. Yes, you're definitely invited. I invite you to all my parties. You just haven't seen to show up.
No, well, is it on the East Coast?
Yes.
Well, that's why. Why don't you have one here on the West Coast? Because I work all the time.
Okay, well, maybe I have one at your house.
Where's that? Now, what time would your party start, let's say?
Like 9:30.
Really? That early?
Yeah.
I could make that.
Yeah.
But I could think of you of starting a party at like midnight. Like what time will it go till?
That's a different type of party.
Uh-huh.
No, it'll go from like 9:30 to like maybe 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And then, we have the top 2 floors of the hotel.
And then it will carry on there?
Yeah. Then No, I mean the after party.
No, I know about them. I'll listen to the music. I've heard that song, After Party. But that was at the Holiday Inn, I think.
Rogan's main point was basically this. How did all these famous people orbit around those parties for years? Talk about them so publicly, laugh about them on television, and now claim they saw absolutely nothing when the current allegations paint such a drastically different picture. And the reason this observation hits so hard with people is because a lot of that party talk wasn't even subtle or hidden. It was right there in the open. There was one specific moment from that 2018 interview that people keep replaying over and over. Diddy straight up tells Ellen that he invites her to all his parties, but she never actually shows up. Then he drops this line about how the parties start early in the evening, but the real party doesn't start until later, around midnight, and specifically on the top floors. And Ellen reacts to this comment like she already knows exactly what he's talking about. That's the precise moment people absolutely won't let go of and keep analyzing. Let's break down why this matters so much and why Rogan thinks it's genuinely suspicious that Ellen's name barely gets mentioned in the mainstream media's framing of this entire story. First off, Ellen had Diddy on her show multiple times across different years, and the party talk became this running joke between them. And then people started digging up even older clips too, like that 2002 Conan O'Brien appearance, where Diddy jokes about needing locks on the doors at his parties. Back when that clip first aired, it sounded like typical shock humor, and people laughed it off. But when people replay that same clip now, it doesn't land like a joke anymore. It lands like foreshadowing, whether that interpretation is fair or not. And once all those clips started circulating again on social media, the question naturally turned into, what did Ellen actually know, if anything? And why isn't she saying a single word about any of this?
This leads me to the perfect thing, because I would like you to clear something up. There's a lot of talk going on with Chris Brown being at your place in Miami, and you arranging Chris and Rihanna getting back together. Where are you going after this? It's all 20s. Where are you going after this? What are you doing?
You know we doing what we plan to do, girl.
People even dug up that old 2016 tweet where Ellen joked around and gave Diddy this weird nickname, calling him Cuddle McSnugglestuff. And then there were multiple moments circulating online where she gets approached by paparazzi with questions about the situation, and she completely refuses to engage or respond. Some viewers read her body language in those moments as extremely uncomfortable and guilty looking. Other people say that's just how anyone would naturally look when they're being ambushed with questions by paparazzi. Either way, it just poured more fuel on the fire and kept the discussion going even stronger. Rogan's point stays pretty simple throughout. If you were close enough to someone to have them on your show multiple times, joke publicly about their party culture on national television in front of millions of viewers, and react like you already know what those coded comments mean, then people are absolutely going to expect you to address the situation when the conversation turns this serious.
All right, we're back with Sean Diddy Combs. Is it Diddy today? Because sometimes you're Puffy and sometimes you're Diddy. Or sometimes you're Daddy. What are you today?
I'm so confused today with it. As long as you say it in a nice way.
All right.
Just all right.
Yeah.
Back when Puff was at his peak, he was literally the biggest guy in the entire world. You couldn't even get into his parties no matter who you were, and when he was throwing a party, he'd be saying this party cost $1.5 million just to put together. And the complete silence from Ellen and a whole bunch of other big names is exactly what Rogan finds suspicious, at least on the perception level and how it looks to the public. But hold up, because there's another layer to this entire situation that makes the whole thing even more complicated and messy. Remember that workplace scandal that blew up Ellen's show? Some former staff members came forward and described a culture where people genuinely felt scared to speak up about problems or concerns. And tons of commenters online started comparing that specific dynamic of fear, power dynamics, and enforced silence to how they imagine other celebrity circles actually operate when someone has serious influence and control. Now, that comparison doesn't automatically confirm anything criminal about Ellen specifically, but it definitely helps explain why these parallels keep getting drawn by people and why this particular conversation refuses to die down and keep sticking around. There are also specific stories that keep getting repeated in that exact same context, like that Ellen gaze thing that a former crew member described, talking about how incredibly tense the entire set felt on a daily basis. Or those claims about certain guests getting kept off the show entirely over personal conflicts and grudges. Whether every single detail of those stories is completely accurate or not, the pattern that people keep arguing about stays the same across all of them: control, pressure, and silence. And once the general public starts seeing a pattern like that emerge, they don't just passively watch those old clips anymore, they actively reinterpret them through this new lens and start connecting dots that weren't connected before. And here's one particular moment that people point to as the absolute sharpest contrast, because it shows just how clean and moral or someone's public stance can sound right before their own image ends up taking massive hits. Back in 2009, after Chris Brown was publicly accused of hitting Rihanna, Ellen literally put Diddy on the spot during her show about why Chris Brown was even allowed to use his house in the first place. And Ellen was speaking like she was taking this really hard principled stand on domestic violence issues, saying she didn't want any young girl out there thinking it's okay or acceptable to go back to a guy who hit her. She positioned herself as someone protecting women and speaking up for what's right.
So Ellen, what do you think? Rihanna went back to Chris? Ellen, is that a good or bad move?
It's a bad move.
Okay.
It's a bad move.
Any advice you want to give to her?
Not really.
All right.
This leads me to the perfect thing, because I would like you to clear something up. There's a lot of talk going on with Chris Brown being at your place in Miami, and you arranging Chris and Rihanna getting back together. Now, you want to talk about that?
See, I wouldn't use my Twitter to talk about that because that's somebody else's business.
I know, but you gave them your house.
Yeah. But we're talking about Twitter.
Yeah.
How you use Twitter, and that's something else. I'm just saying I wouldn't really Twitter about that.
Okay, let's not Twitter about it. Let's talk about it.
Okay. Can we dance?
Yes.
I would like to dance.
Dance. Do it.
Then later, when all those workplace allegations around Ellen's own show started circulating everywhere, former staff members were coming forward describing toxic behavior and describing a culture that felt genuinely abusive to them on a personal level. And that's exactly why so many people call it straight-up hypocrisy. Not because it automatically proves some crime happened, but because the contrast between her public statements and her alleged private behavior is really hard to ignore when you put them side by side. One moment, it's I'm out here protecting women and standing up for victims. And the very next moment, it's my own set was allegedly a complete mess behind the scenes, with people feeling abused and silenced. Now zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture here. There were also multiple reports that Ellen and Portia sold off their Montecito estate and packed up everything to move to rural England. The move got publicly tied to the political climate in America and them wanting to escape all that. And tons of viewers instantly took that specific timing and mashed it directly into the Diddy conversation. Because while his legal situation was pulling more and more public attention every single day, everyone watching was keeping track of which celebrity names stayed completely silent and which ones actually spoke up about anything. And this is where the rabbit hole gets even darker and more complicated, because the online crowd doesn't just passively watch what's happening. They actively invent narratives and connect dots, whether those dots should be connected or not. At one point, wild rumors started flying around that Ellen supposedly had an arrest warrant connected to her former DJ Steven Twitch boss, who tragically passed away in late 2022. And supposedly some kind of recording was played in an actual court hearing. Multiple fact checkers came out and shut that specific claim down as completely false and made up. But what's really revealing about that situation is how incredibly fast that rumor spread across social media anyway. Because people reading it weren't stopping to ask, is this actually true first? They were immediately asking, does this fit the storyline that I already believe? And with Ellen's reputation already seriously damaged from the workplace scandal, her name naturally became this magnet for literally anything that sounds shocking or scandalous, especially if it can somehow be attached to a bigger Hollywood darkness narrative that people want to believe exists. And that's the genuine risk with moments like this in the current media environment. A completely made-up rumor can travel way faster than actual reality and verified facts. But the underlying distrust from the public is very real and legitimate. And that's exactly why these stories refuse to die down. No matter how many times they get debunked, the distrust is already baked in. Even in her Netflix special For Your Approval, Ellen directly addressed being pushed out of the entire show business industry and joked about the situation. She basically admitted that the Be Kind Girl Wasn't Kind headline became her permanent public identity that she can't escape from. But what a lot of people watching focused on wasn't even the actual joke itself. It was her tone throughout the special. The specific way she talked about ego, public exposure, and how loud the hate gets compared to the love and support. She said there are such extremes in this business where people either love you and completely idolize you, or they absolutely hate you. And somehow those people who hate you are always louder than everyone else. And tons of listeners watching that special didn't hear that statement as real accountability or taking ownership. They heard it as deflection and avoidance. Like someone who's still actively processing the fallout and damage to their reputation, but not someone who's genuinely trying to fully own what happened and take complete responsibility for their role in creating that toxic environment. Then you had another viral moment that really shows how far this entire situation has been taken by the public. Aaron Rodgers went on Joe Rogan's podcast and actually tried to compare Ellen's old talk show set to Epstein Island because of supposedly similar looking architecture between the two locations. Rogan shut that comparison down really fast, saying it just looked like a regular building in LA and was probably pure coincidence and nothing more. But the fact that comparison even came up in the first place tells you exactly where Ellen's reputation sits right now in the public consciousness. People are actively trying to place her on the same conspiracy map they use for literally the worst names in modern history. Not because any of that's been proven or has evidence behind it, but because the internet absolutely loves a storyline that feels dramatic and cinematic, like a movie. So what is everyone actually saying about all this online?
The rumors are that Diddy was running some kind of Epstein type deal where he was filming everybody, right?
That's the rumors, yeah. I don't know that there's any proof or anything other than that.
Let's look at the reactions across social media and listen to the pattern emerging, not just the individual insults being thrown around, but thrown around. One person commented that Ellen clearly knew what was going on and is now living comfortably in England while Diddy is tied up in a serious federal case facing prison time. Other commenters said, Rogan is literally the only major platform willing to say what everyone's already thinking privately, and they asked why certain celebrity names get absolutely dragged through the mud, while other names somehow seem to get a much softer edit and treatment from the media. And then you get all the body language analysis takes, clips of Ellen refusing to engage with paparazzi questions, with tons of people calling her facial expressions and reactions guilty looking.
Ellen, were you surprised by the allegations about P. Diddy? Did that surprise you about P. Diddy?
Again, that's not actual proof of anything criminal. That's just perception and interpretation. But perception is exactly what drives these massive comment wars and keeps them going. And you can see a very clear repeating theme across all the replies and discussions. Toxic workplace headlines that damaged her brand. An apology that people genuinely didn't find satisfying or real. A move overseas to England that the audience treats like a major signal instead of a lifestyle choice. And then the Diddy conversation getting louder and louder every day. All of these separate elements getting stitched together into one unified narrative by people online. That's the real engine powering this entire story forward. People feel like Ellen never really paid an actual price or faced real consequences for the workplace scandal, so now they're actively looking for a bigger explanation that makes more sense to them. Remember that question from the very beginning. Why does it feel like nobody wants to talk about Ellen DeGeneres in this Diddy conversation? Here's the answer that a lot of people are landing on when they think about it. They genuinely think she's being handled differently than other celebrities in similar situations. Not officially in a legal or court way, but in a she's still Ellen DeGeneres way, where she has advantages, connections in the industry, serious money and wealth, long-standing relationships with powerful people, massive influence even after publicly stepping away, and the ability to actively shape a narrative and control her image even after leaving television. But what's really changing right now is this. People like Joe Rogan don't play by those same traditional social rules that protect celebrities. They'll say the quiet part out loud on their massive platforms, not as a final verdict or accusation, but as a legitimate question worth asking. And once a platform as huge as Joe Rogan's treats something like a valid question that deserves discussion, the audience immediately runs with it and takes it even further than the original question. The real controversy here isn't that Ellen is somehow worse than Diddy. That would be a completely reckless leap to make without evidence. The actual controversy is why do some celebrity names get interrogated and questioned nonstop by the public and media while other names get handled totally differently and seem protected, even when the clips clearly exist, even when the actual quotes are on record, even when the optics look incredibly messy and suspicious. And that's exactly why this conversation keeps circulating and refuses to go away.
What are you holding there?
I'm holding my package.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
Because the Diddy situation triggered this massive rewind of everything. Old interviews are getting replayed with fresh eyes. Old jokes that seemed harmless are getting relabeled as something darker. And suddenly people watching aren't just consuming entertainment anymore. They're actively watching for patterns and connections and trying to piece together a bigger picture. So what's actually next for Ellen DeGeneres at this point? Honestly, it's probably going to be a quiet life away from the spotlight, unless someone comes forward with real verifiable evidence directly tying her to anything illegal or criminal. Not vibes or gut feelings, not conspiracy theories floating around online, not body language analysis from paparazzi clips. She'll most likely be remembered primarily for the toxic workplace era that destroyed her image and that cold reputation she developed, rather than anything genuinely connected to Diddy or his legal situation. As for Diddy himself, his legal fight absolutely doesn't just disappear or go away quietly. There are ongoing appeals being filed. There are continuous legal filings happening. There are multiple civil battles still playing out in courts. And there's this non-stop echo chamber effect that keeps pulling more and more celebrity names into the conversation. Whether those names actually belong there or not, the machine keeps running and more names keep getting dragged in regardless of their actual involvement. So, what do you think about all this? Do you genuinely think Ellen knew way more than she ever publicly admitted about Diddy's parties and what went on there? Or is this just the internet doing exactly what it always does, which is taking old clips out of context and turning them into a dramatic storyline that fits whatever narrative people want to believe? Drop your honest thoughts down in the comments section below.